What's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is the gun that I had stolen from me 6 years ago, and it was returned just before Thanksgiving this year. A meth head tried to pawn it and got caught up. So if you remember my other video, this thing looks like absolute garbage, but I've got some new parts in. I've got a Field Master Monte Carlo stock that's going to go on it. Obviously, you know, we've got a new butt pad. I've got a new magazine spring and a follower from NDZ Performance. I'm going to be tearing this thing down. Most of this video is going to be sped up. There's a couple of parts in here that I want to show everybody. For example, the fore-end tube. I want to show you guys how to get that out and break down this receiver. I'm also going to try to get the spray paint off of the barrel here and as much rust as possible, and by the end of this video I'm going to know for sure whether or not that I want to Cerakote it, and if so, I'm still going to need your help on what color. One thing's for sure, I'm still going to need help with what I'm going to name this gun. Something catchy that relates to it being stolen by a meth head. But yeah, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, you always want to check and make sure that your firearm is clear and ready to be worked on. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and get this ugly furniture out of our sight. So this whole process will be sped up pretty fast, and when we come back we will start taking everything down on the receiver and the fore end. Want to make sure you hang on to that. I'm going to put this back on here because I do not want it. Alright, so we've got our stock off, and next we're going to take our barrel off and our fore end, and then I will show you how to remove the fore end tube, and then we'll move on to the receiver. Our retainer here, and we can get rid of our other spring as it is no longer going to be used. Slide your barrel right off, and the booger is always getting your fore end off, but inside of there are two little tabs that you can push. And once you get it to come out, it will bring the bolt carrier with it. And then all you're left with on this is your fore end tube and the fore end. So to get this tube out of the fore end, there is a nut right here. And so this main tube right here is threaded on this end, so that nut keeps it from sliding back out this way. And so you might be able to tell there's two grooves in that nut. And so the best way to get it out is take a large fender washer, I think this is 1 1/4 inches, and a pair of vice grips, and you can stick that in there to catch the grooves. There's your nut, and you can see it has two grooves. And then, so this may be a little bit tight, but you should be able to slide it right out. So we can get this thing out of our face. We're going to put our nut back on here just for safekeeping and set it to the side. So I was hoping that I would be able to stick the whole receiver in the sonic cleaner, but I'm about that much too long, and I wasn't thinking about the magazine tube. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the trigger group out, and we will hand clean everything here, and we will stick the remaining smaller parts like the end cap and the bolt carrier in the sonic cleaner for a little while and see how clean it gets it. But my goal here is to get as much of the paint and rust off of this gun as possible without destroying the finish. So I'm going to put the rest of these in the sonic cleaner, but before I do, I'm going to take the firing pin out and make sure that we don't damage that spring with the sonic cleaner. What you do is there is a retainer pin in that hole right there, and so you're just going to punch it through. And then once you do, you'll be able to pull out the firing pin and the spring, and then that will come out as well as your pin. So all of these parts are ready to go in the sonic cleaner, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove the fire control group from the receiver, and you do that by taking out these two pins here. So we'll do that now. And it just slides right out. This thing is a disgusting mess. Obviously there's a little bit of overspray from where they coated the bottom part of the trigger guard, but there is a ton of trash in here. So what we're going to do is we will take this and brush it down real good, get as much of the junk off of there as we can, do a little bit of light oiling, and this thing should be running really good. So I'm not going to take you guys through the cleaning process. That can be pretty lengthy, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get all of this spray paint off of the barrel and the receiver, try to remove as much rust as I can, and since they shot it without a choke tube in, I'm going to have to get in there and clean out those threads really good. When we come back, everything will be cleaned up and everything will be out of the sonic cleaner, and we'll be ready to put it back together and make our call on whether or not we are going to get this thing Cerakoted. Alright, so I've got about 4 to 5 hours in scraping all of the spray paint off of the barrel and the receiver, but I've got just about all of it. We're going to go ahead and put this thing back together. So I'm going to speed this up real fast and let you guys watch me put this whole thing back together from this little bucket of parts and what you see here. So let's get at it. We've gotten to a stopping point. What happened is my bolt from my factory stock, where the washer stops in the new stock, is too high. So it makes this bolt about 1.5 inches too short, maybe 2 inches. So I'm gonna have to get a longer bolt and see if we can make that work. Alright, so we had a little bit of trouble finding our bolt, but we did find one. Wound up ordering it off of eBay, but I was right. This was our old bolt. This is the new one, and you can see it's about 2 inches longer. So we're going to go ahead and get this put together and see what she looks like. Ooh-wee. Let's go ahead and put our butt pad on. Man, this thing looks so much better now. I was able to get about 98% of the spray paint off of the barrel and the receiver. So I don't really think that it's necessary to Cerakote it anymore. I mean, look at it. This thing looks pretty much brand new. And that stock is beautiful. So, you know, some folks are probably like, oh, it's just an 870, who cares? Yeah, it's an inexpensive gun, but I think it's pretty cool novelty now that it was returned to me after 6 years of being stolen. So yeah. Also, I was able to get the threads for the choke tube cleaned up really good, so that's not going to be an issue anymore. I am still looking for recommendations for some type of verbiage to put down the side of the barrel that pertains to it being stolen by a meth head. So if you guys would leave something catchy in the comments for me, that would be appreciated. And if I see something I like, I will definitely be putting it on the side of the barrel. So yeah, this has been a pretty fun project. You know, there wasn't really much to it. Just buying the new stock, had to buy the new bolt for the stock. I've got about 4, maybe close to 5 hours of scrubbing and cleaning the spray paint off of the barrel and the magazine tube. So, you know, that was a little bit time consuming, but man, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. And I've got some more things in store for it. I've got a red dot that my wife bought me for Christmas, and my goal is to turn this into a pretty awesome turkey gun. I've always wanted to put a red dot on a shotgun, so I've got a red dot mount that has just come in, so I'm going to do a separate video on that, so be looking out for that. And if you're interested in seeing the backstory of this gun, go check out the 870 video that I put up probably 2 months ago, and you can see the whole story behind it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned, we got some pretty cool stuff coming up for this. See you guys next time in Rob's Man Cave.